Hello everybody, thank you very much for coming by the den and having a look at this presentation of the Frosthaven miniature print service. For those that are familiar with the work here at Simply Scenery, I did do a Gloomhaven version of the print service, and you can find that. I'll put some links for the video for that, so that is still there if you are purely for Gloomhaven. If you're purely for Frosthaven, here we have the 312 miniatures of Frosthaven. But first of all, maybe you've come here, you're not really too sure what all this is about, you've seen the title, you've popped in, you're either thinking about getting the game or you've got the game, and let's have a quick recap. So within your game you will find cardboard standees of the monsters. Now this is all the general monsters, there are bosses on top of this and summonses and all sorts of other bits and pieces, but generally you get a cardboard cutout of the standee. This is taking that cardboard cutout and turning it into a 3D model which you can paint yourself, and adds that much detailed level of realism in your game. In addition to that, you can, as I produce and many other producers, produce walls, doors, scenery items. You know, you can build your whole world. And if you log on to our Facebook page, my Facebook page, you will see lots of ideas there to develop your game. But having the miniatures really does breathe life into the game and make it feel a little bit more real. Not for everybody. Currently there is a Kickstarter campaign, which is the third reprint, I think, but the upgraded one, I think we're all familiar with it, and we're halfway through that, and this campaign is like a huge marketplace campaign. It has miniatures in it, it has the new version of Gloomhaven, the upgraded version, which has brought some disconsolation to to previous owners, reprints of Frosthaven, and quite a number of extras. It currently stands at about $2 million, I think, which for the IP I was a bit surprised that we was only 10 days from the end of the campaign and it's only just about got past its funding thing. However, one of the main elements in that is miniatures. Now those, I think a lot of people had been getting in touch with me saying, are you going to produce a print service for the miniatures? And yeah, I think when you look at the timescale, I think you've got to look at timescale. I haven't really brought myself up to date fully with the pricing of the miniatures. I would imagine to get everything you're looking at $200 or $300, if not a bit more. But it's the time frame, and realistically you're looking to get those miniatures in around about probably 2 years from the campaign. And I know it says less than that, but Kickstarters are never on time from that perspective, especially when you've got the complications of moulding what is 312 miniatures. There'll be bosses and things like that. The one thing that would be interesting is buying into any boss packs and things like that, where you don't want the actual miniature, you know, the general game miniatures, or you can go down this route, sort your own out, or alternative, and you can just buy the boss miniatures in. Now, how does this service work? Well, this is a print service. You're not buying these models per se, and these models will change overall. What I have here is my selection of the generic models that I've found throughout the internet, Thingiverse, you know, adapted some of them myself, etc. And these are then, so what you're buying into is a print service of these models. Now it may be, and the reason it's a print service is that you'll look through the catalogue, as it were, and say, yes, that works for me. Or you might say, do you know what, I don't like that Harrowing Infestor model there, I have a proxy or another model that I've got hold of that I want to change that out for, and that is absolutely fine. And if you have a replacement to all the models, then that's absolutely fine. We just ask that you submit them to us, and then we have to adapt them and things like that. However, I would say that vast majority of this, if not all of it, is probably where most people want to go. So these are in the library already, and that's the ones I've printed here. We'll have more close-ups of this. They're all in resin, so they're very highly detailed, and they all come fully supported. and there is a bit of a video. We'll close in a minute and have a look at the elements of what it is that you have to do for there. But essentially you could get these on the table fairly quickly throughout. Now, what is the difference between the monsters in Frosthaven and the monsters in Gloomhaven? Well, 60% of the monsters in Gloomhaven have made their way into Frosthaven. So for those people I reach out to that have already got this print set done, and there were a few when we offered the Gloomhaven print set, which is still available, they would want an update pack. So keep an eye out. This will be going through one of the normal selling platforms. We have a good shop on Etsy, and if you go on to the join the Simply Scenery Facebook page, there's also a way of purchasing through there, and much discounted on there. So one of the things is that you will be required to clip them. We'll do a close-up in a minute, and we'll be having a look at the different stands, because in the game you get a number of coloured stands that the standees go into. Now, going at the sideline, there is no real intention of me putting up anything to do with bosses and stuff. If you have proxies that you've got your hands on and you want me to print any bosses or anything completely different, then please just get in touch, and there'll be some details on what those sort of scale of charges would be for that. Okay, right, so huge amount of models. What we'll do is we'll move the camera around, we'll have a closer look at what we've got. There will be links in the description to Google Drive, and I will be photographing each individual model that I've got on the table here to see whether or not that's what you want. If not, obviously you are free to go and find your own proxies, and there's a huge amount of different ones on there, but most cases these represent, that I've got in front of me, the artwork that's on the standee as is. So most people would like to go that route. All right, let's get the camera set up and close in for a further look. As I mentioned before in the video there, all the miniatures are in fact resin printed, so they're very highly detailed, so there's no PLA print in here. This is done through resin. Like I say, there is 312 miniatures, and it roughly equates to about 2.5 litres of resin, so 2.5 kilos of resin, so quite a bit of resin going into that. And a lot of that is actually, I would have said for each of the models, probably about 50% of that is the support. There is a lot of detail on these models, a lot of very fine detail, so care has to be taken. Now, I have done a clipping video which was linked to the Gloomhaven one, so the process is exactly the same. What I would say about the supports that have been placed in these now, the supports are much more finer. So what you'll get, as you can see here, that is a typical plate size of models. Now, the actual support itself will literally just pull away. Now, there is a density of support. The support itself is very, very fine in the way that it supports the item. However, it's very dense, and that gives it an ease. So you will just work your way through picking, through the support as you go on. So there we have a full plate. Now, these would have been washed twice in isopropanol, so they will come to you pretty, what I would say, dry. If you look at the other videos, it talks about having a UV thing, so if you are going down this route, you will need to just reach down to grab some sort of UV lamp. So that was a disco type UV lamp, or alternatively you can just leave them in the sunshine. So these are washed, triple washed as it were, or double washed, and they are actually a lot better now, and will come out quite dry. But what we do like is that these come out a little bit soft, that they haven't fully cured, and the reason for that is it just leaves the tiny fingers and things that little bit more supple, so that breaking away the support isn't as dramatic. But you will, and I say this now, you will get a couple of some breakages. It's unavoidable. So in that case, the other item you're going to need is some super glue. There we are, and this is the activant. Now this is sold in the UK. Effectively, it's called Mitre Fast. It's super glue and an activator. You put the super glue on, and then you just spray the activator on, and it sets it almost immediately. So that is really good stuff. I don't know what the branding is abroad, but that's how it's bought in the UK. It's called Mitre Fast. It's meant for fixing mitres of picture frames and all sorts of stuff. So that's the activant, alright, instant bonds, and it just speeds up the process of the super glue. So that's a really good thing to have on the armoury as well. So you're going to need that. You're also going to need a pair of tweezers, alright. That can assist you in holding any little bits that may have broken off, and just put them back in. Also, it will help you pick through. So when you go through the supports here, there are little bits that might be just left behind. You can reach inside and pick those out. So you'll need some of those side clippers, a pair of side clippers. These were quite cheapish ones there. They come through from some printers, and they will do absolutely fine. But once again, there is a little video and an instruction on how to approach just preparing these. Now, stands. Well, in with the set you will get a number of PLA stands. Yes, bright orange, but quite frankly, we don't know what colours you're going to get. It depends what we've got in PLA lying around, but it doesn't matter because they're going to be painted and sprayed. So you will have a number of stands, enough stands for all your miniatures, all your 312 miniatures and a few extra, and you will literally just glue them to the stands. Now, people will be asking, how are you going to get around the different colours, because obviously there are different levels and so on, and I think in the kit we had some red, we had some blue standee, we got some white, and we got some golden yellow, as it were. So those were the standees. So in the original Gloomhaven, what I did was I did some ringlets that these would sit in with numbers on, and you could bring out the numbers. They haven't been that popular, to be honest with you. There's a number of things that you can buy where you put the dial numbers in and stuff, and maybe that's the case. I've really just gone back to basics, and I've just printed coloured stands. Now I'm playing around with a couple of others, but you'll get enough stands. You'll get the reflection stands to the ones that are in the kit, in the set. I've got some, I was playing around with some fluorescent ones there. Imagine that's not the case, but there's some orange ones. There's an orange, there's a red, and there's a blue. And I would say those are good proxies for, not as, it's very difficult to match up the colours, but probably go for the orange. That will be the sort of goldeny yellow one. Like I say, we do have those, but I won't be forcing those on people. And effectively, all these stands do. You might sort of tidy them up a little bit. Oh, and the other thing you'll probably need as well is a craft knife. If you're into the modelling anyway, you will be aware of things that you'll need. So you'll need some sort of Stanley knife or something just to help you take off any of the birds. Anyway, it's minor. But effectively these are all set up so that these models will just sit in like that. And there we are. So there's our little guy there. And he can come straight out of that. So I found that the most effective solution for the stands. Okay, it didn't have the numbers, but the numbers don't print super well, and it just caused more problems than required. Now, once you've clipped them and mounted them on there, then you'd leave them in the sunlight, or you'd put them in the UV, but put them under the UV again. Quite honestly, most of these just sit out in the sunlight, bit of sunlight, and they will then cure if there is any final curing left much to do, to be honest with you. And then just undercoat them, and you can then paint them individually. It's got speed paints now, or alternatively you might just wish to wash them. Okay, and that is effectively how it's done there. Now there are let's see how many plates we have here. We have 40. There are 47 plates, so 47 of these will make up your collection. All right, so there's quite a few plates of there. How long does it take? Well, I had all these clips out from all these plates and mounted and sprayed over about 3 days, and I wasn't at it all day. So, you know, you're looking at best part of a week, you know, just taking your time, mounting them up, getting them on the board, and then they're ready to play, or just spraying them up, and then you can paint them as you wish as you go on. So that's the Frosthaven selection. As I said, I will put links in for the Gloomhaven list, which we've done in the past, and there will be options for people who've already gone down this route and got the Gloomhaven versions. You know, so you've got a large percentage. Like I say, I think it's well, it's probably just under 60. This is 25 of these are from Gloomhaven, and 22 are new monsters, and then of course we've got the bosses and things. So that's it, folks. Obviously in the FAQ, if you want to post some questions, please join us on Facebook and post some questions there. If you are interested in this service, I'll put links in for the Etsy page, which I can send you out the details on how to go about it. Yep, that's it. So quite a bit of stuff there. Okay, thanks for watching, and well, see you soon. Bye now.